Here we go again with another edition of Hoops Across the Mountain State, episode 145. I know, it's unbelievable that we've reached the big 145. Now it's not 150, it's not, but it's still good. We're going on year 3, which will come up in July. So it's always exciting to talk some high school basketball and especially basketball within this great state of West Virginia. Last week we talked girls basketball with the girls roundtable with John Kennedy from Ripley, Pat Jones from Nitro, and Jamie Lemaster from George Washington High School. And as you guys can see if you're watching on YouTube, I'm joined by 3 basketball coaches on the boys side. So let's dive right in and let's introduce each of them. Let's start with head coach Michael Jebbia from Wheeling Park. He played at Wheeling Park and also went on to play collegiately at West Liberty University. He's entering his 18th season as the head coach at Wheeling Park. He's led the Patriots to 6 state tournaments and 2 state title game appearances. So Coach Jebbia, and then obviously Coach Moles, as you can see to my left, he's entering his 5th season. He's taken Charleston Catholic to the state tournament in 3 of his first 4 seasons. They reached the state final in Class AA this past season. He played basketball at South Charleston High School for head coach Vic Herbert, and then eventually went on to play at WVU Tech. And finally, Coach Ronnie Olson from Shady Spring High School. He's entering his 9th season with the Tigers. He has 1 state title under his belt. He's taken Shady Spring to 3 consecutive Class AAA state tournament, state finals, I should say, and he played college basketball at Bluefield State College. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Coach Jebbia, I didn't realize you were that old, man. You make me feel old.
I'm the oldest on here all of a sudden.
I thought we were the same age, but
Yeah, I think a couple years older.
I mean, but he looks like he's in his 20s almost.
Easy now.
No, come on now. I got to take care of my guests. I mean, you know how it is, Coach. I mean, all 3 of you guys are friends of the program.
Start the show out complimenting. You know, we definitely come back.
Well, I appreciate each of you joining me. As always, all 3 of you have been on the program before. And to give a little bit of context for our audience, we're going to go down a lot of different areas and similar areas, I should say, that we did in episode 144. We'll talk about the 4-class system. We'll talk about the transfer portal on the boys' side. But let's start here because I think each of these coaches do a fantastic job with building and growing and just even more building. Because I think it's a continuation of building a program. And I know we didn't get to this last episode, which I wanted to, but I want to start here and we'll see where it goes from there. But Coach Olson, I'll start with you because you've taken Shady Spring to the state final in Class AAA 3 consecutive seasons. You've done a fantastic job with getting that program to a high power of status in not only Class AAA, but also in the state. Just kind of walk me through when you took over this job almost 9 years ago. How did you lay out how you were going to build this program, and how did you want this identity to be built as you went along in this journey as the Tigers head coach?
You know, that's probably one of my most favorite stories to tell because, you know, everybody can say they want to win a state championship. Everybody can say they want to compete at the highest level, but there's a lot that goes into it. And I had some good people around me. You know, one of them is my assistant coach, Russ Jordan. We partnered with a local church. And we started Shady Elite, which is our youth program here, and it's just blown away and it expanded tremendously. So these guys are playing, you know, 60, 70 off-season games together, all the way from 2nd grade. It's self-sustaining now. It's ran since, you know, we're going on 10 years of this Shady Elite program. We recognize them in the community. We have girls, boys on them, but now it runs itself now. So. You know, we had a vision. We started that. You know, I can remember so many times. We still have elementary school ball that's ran by the actual county board itself, which is one of the few remaining ones in the state of West Virginia. We have a luxury there. And, you know, I just remember laying out a blueprint, you know, telling my wife, I'm going to have to be at these games, I have to be at these practices. You know, even I remember looking at some of the tryouts with some of these kids coming in from other schools outside of our district. And even to this day, our blueprint's still there. We keep the kids Shady first, and if we can fill a team with outside kids in Raleigh County, then we will. And I just think it's taken off, you know, and I feel like we don't have a team. People always say, you're going to be good next year. Well, you know, we had a great team. Everybody knows that in the state of West Virginia, but you know, we have a program, and I think that's a lot of the reason why we had it. We had good people in the middle school and elementary, but starting that travel team, and I got to have an integral part in that. My hands were in it. I got to talk to all the coaches, and you know, we ran it, with a good purpose, through church, and now it runs itself. And I always feel like as long as that's around, we're always going to be contenders. And we always got kids that are in 2nd to 6th grade playing basketball, and that's where it begins. So that's kind of what we did, and obviously kids buying into your philosophy, and now it just runs itself. We get them in the gym as much as we can, whether I don't care if I gotta put a door jam in the back door on a Sunday or something. We want them in the gym. We keep them in the gym. We have great people around our program that make sure they're in the gym. And even when one graduates, we have another parent stepping up to do our off-season stuff, and I think that's very important. Our guys stay in the gym, even if they're playing other sports. I want them to understand those sports aren't basketball is not the most important sport. But when you're not doing anything and you're sitting at home and you're on your video game or you're on your phone, I expect you to be in the gym. So that's not too much to ask for. I'm not asking for every minute of the day. So that's kind of where we're at. And I think that's been a great testament to us. I feel like as long as Shady's around and that travel program's around, I think, we're going to be a strong program no matter what.
Coach Jimmy, I'll go to you because I thought Coach Olson hit a lot of great points, but I want to take it from the side that you're the only one amongst these 3 coaches that you are coaching your alma mater at Wheeling Park. And I mentioned how you're going on year 19 for you. You've had a lot of success over the years. Do you take a sense of pride and just a lot of love and compassion towards that job because you have been able to build it and continue to sustain the winning culture that Wheeling Park has been able to do? Has that pride intensified over these years as you continue along in this coaching journey?
I'm so grateful to be the head coach here. But really the credit, Coach Sam Andy was the head coach for 30 years, 1976 to 2006. So he was tasked with consolidating Wheeling High, Triadelphia, and Warwood. They were all 3 really good schools. Wheeling High won the state, I think, in 1976. His last year there. Warwood was good. Triadelphia was ranked high, and they all had to come together and consolidate. And that's not easy. People were upset. We weren't around at that time, but I heard many stories. And he made it mesh together. He used a blue team that he got the idea from Dean Smith and subbed 5 guys in. He got 10, 12 guys involved. They went 20-0. They went 20-0. They were number 1 in the state. They got beaten in the state tournament by and I think we talked about this before, Clarksburg, Washington, Irving, Jeff Schneider. But that kind of set the tone. That set the tone for Wheeling Park. Wheeling High had great tradition with many state championships, but it kind of set the tone for Wheeling Park. And I was fortunate to play for him. We went to the state tournament all 4 years and went into the state championship game twice, winning 1, losing 1, playing against Beckley and just having incredible battles with, I know Ronnie knows those teams with Tamar Slay, Jamel Bradley. Got thrust into the championship game as a freshman playing against Gene Neighbors. Just a lot of great memories and moments. And, Coach got that going and we played a tough schedule and just try to continue that. Moving forward. And just to piggyback off some of the, Ronnie has great stuff going there with that youth. And we have a lot of things, and because Wheeling, it's not a huge city, but in terms of West Virginia, it's an area where we have YMCA's and different things where the kids are playing. But at a bigger school, we have the luxury of 4 middle schools, which sometimes it's tough for me to get to every the games and get around. But we try to involve them with a middle school night up at Wheeling Park. They come up and play a game there. Sometimes we've had our Pac-8 middle school championship games at Wheeling Park, but we do have 4 middle schools, and then we've always had a freshman team at Wheeling Park. For a long period of time, we had 2 freshman teams. In my first 7 or 8 years, we had 2, and then we went to 1 because it was just getting harder for gym and schedule time, and some teams weren't even having a freshman team. So we still take a lot of pride in those middle school teams and in our freshman team and try to schedule them 17, 18, 19 games. And then obviously move them into the JV and the varsity. But really, Coach Andy made Wheeling Park basketball important from the beginning. And, even when I was there, we were fortunate to go play at Florida in the City of Palms Classic. We went to Lexington, Kentucky and played in a tournament. And you don't realize it at the time, but then looking back, got to play against, just a lot of good teams and good venues.
Coach Moles, I'll go to you. And I mentioned this when introducing Coach Jebbia. He's coached 15 plus years. You're one of the younger guys, not only in this podcast right now, other than myself being the host, but as one of the coaches. But you're also one of the younger coaches in the state. When you sat down and you started to, I'll use the B word that Coach Olson said, and that is blueprint what you're wanting your program to look like. Did you sketch in there the fact that you will be able to be a lot more personable with your guys, since that age gap is still there, but it's a lot shorter than what you probably anticipated when you first took the job? And whenever you start building the program, does that make your job easier, being able to be so personable with your guys?
Taylor, that's a great question. I don't know if it makes it easier, but it's definitely, I mean, it's just a part of my journey. Not a lot of guys get as lucky as I got. I became a head coach at 23, and it sounds crazier and crazier as I get older, just to look back and think, I was the head coach then. And not that I don't think I was ready. I do think I was ready. That's why I applied for the job. But I've just learned so much in these past 4 seasons, and just trying to keep learning, keep growing. And I try to be honest with the guys. That's why I really try to be honest with them, not about their game, about just everything going on. Just try to teach them life lessons to the game of basketball, and just constantly trying to put that in their ear, that it's bigger than basketball. And that's kind of a part of building that program. But yeah, man, I try to, I think it can help a little bit, but sometimes people might think, well, you're a little younger, so they might not listen as much, so it just depends. I think once you get in between the lines, basketball is basketball. I think you know who the good players are. I think players know if you know what you're talking about. I do. I don't think these guys are, I don't think we have the smartest basketball players in the world, but the kids know what's going on. They know. They like intensity. They like structure. When I came in, I think our guys really bought into the structure of practice, the way we do things, the way we echo calls, the way we don't walk on the basketball court. Just like those little things, they really bought into, and it made my job and our coaching staff job just a lot easier. I got really lucky, man, because Charleston Catholic, Coach McClanahan, man, he built this thing. I mean, he only lost a handful of games here at the facility, and Charleston Catholic was just a powerhouse in my eyes, looking, trying to get this job. And I just wanted to try to continue that, bring some of my own stuff, bring some stuff I've learned from Coach Williams, Coach Bob Williams at Tech, things I learned from Vic Herbert, things I've learned from all my coaches. I played soccer as well. So you just try to bring your own little, your own thing to it, and just go with it, man. Just go with it. So both of these guys have done one heck of a job. I'm just now getting the guys that'll be seniors next year will be my first class that I've had from freshman to senior. So I'm still new into this building a program thing. But last year we started our first camp. I try to go to as many middle school games. I put at least 2 to 3 on my calendar every year to go watch. Because you have to, you got to build from that middle school up. And so I'm trying to just keep building, keep learning. And I take stuff from these guys. I take stuff from everybody. I just constantly trying to learn.
Coach Olson, I'll go back to you, because I thought both Coach Moles and Coach Jebbia both said a lot of guys that they looked up to whenever they were either playing or working with. And that kind of leads me into a question, along with building this program, because I think when you coach and you play, you take bits and pieces from people that you've been able to be around. When you look at your style of coaching and how you were brought into the coaching realm, who were some guys that really directed you in this direction and really mold the coach that you are today? Coach, you're muted, by the way.
Number one, I'd say Coach Barksdale. I moved here from Florida. I didn't know much about West Virginia. I didn't know much about, I've lived here, ever since. This is my home now, but I came here, moved here from Florida, and Barksdale was, I remember meeting him at the YMCA, and some of the, what's crazy is we still talk to this day. He wrote me a letter. It's kind of old school, but he wrote me a letter after we lost the state championship. He knew some things he said to me that echoed, he lives in this area. And he's like, Shady Springs made it when all you see is basketball goals go up around all these kids' house and stuff. He lives in a neighborhood. It's predominantly a bunch of, younger kids. And but he was a big one. I played at Ohio Valley, Bluefield State. We had intern coaches. So I was a luxury and not a luxury to play for a lot of coaches in college. And I got to see a lot of what I should and shouldn't. And as much as Coach Perkins, I played for him at Independence, and Coach Clark. But how to run a program, Coach Perkins helped me a lot with. And but I'll tell you, some of the coaches I learned about, not to be negative. We struggled at Bluefield State record-wise. We had a lot of talent. Some guys that kind of came in as intern coaches. Sometimes I learned what not to do as well. And I think some of those things I learned, and I'm a candid, open person. I don't lie. I don't beat around the bush. I just feel like those were things I learned that I don't think I would ever do if I was a coach, or things that I know how to make, every single guy on the entire team feel like they're part of something, whether they can help on the floor, or they can help in the locker room, or they bring the GPA up, or they're just one of the best kids you want to have on a program because they're great moral character, upstanding young men. So I think college did, but Barksdale was a big influence, but I was lucky to be around a lot of coaches. But his style, some of the things I definitely, just like Coach Moles said, I put my own spin on things. We do a lot of different things. He watched our state tournament game this year, and he said when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame or whatever it was, and he said, "Man, I wish we could run and jump like that." Just to hear things from him, stuff like that. But he was one. And then I watch college games as well. I love basketball. I take things from every coach. Mark Few is one of my favorite coaches at Gonzaga. He's, I think, and Coach Calipari, everybody thinks he's a big recruiter, but I think he's one of the best defensive coaches in the business. If you truly know the game, if you study the game and you watch his defense, the way that they play, is phenomenal. To get the top tier athletes in the whole country to play defense at that high level is phenomenal. And I'm not even a Kentucky fan, but those are some of my guys.
Coach Jebby, I'll go back to you. And when again, you've coached a long time, 15 plus years. Take it from this angle, staying along the lines of building a program. What do you know now, entering your 19th year as the Patriots head coach, that you might not have known when you took the job 19 years ago?
Sometimes you don't always know how things are going to play out. You may see a kid in 7th or 8th grade. We had a boy that was maybe the third best player on a 7th grade team, and Alex Vargo, and he ended up being 2-time first team All-State. Sometimes you don't know. Kids grow. You have an idea. You see talent coming. You see kids coming, but you just got to let things play out. I think is the biggest thing. Just try not to get too far ahead of yourself. Just kind of stay the course and take things day by day. We encourage our kids. Our 3 best basketball players returning will be football players. Running back, receiver, quarterback, they're competitors. But sometimes you just don't know how things will play out, not year to year, but even through a long season.
Coach Moles, going to you, and again, you've taken Charleston Catholic to three state tournaments in your first 4 seasons, including reaching the state final this past season. When you look at these first 4 years for you, how would you best describe your time early on as a head coach? Now, again, you can be thankful for working with Charleston Catholic. I think everybody would say that they are grateful for working with their school. But as a head coach, what have you learned in these first couple of years?
Man, I've learned a lot. I think I go off of a saying, and some people switch it. I think players win games, coaches lose them. I don't put the ball in the hoop, and I've been blessed with some really good players. Just getting kids to buy in, be a part of a team, kind of like these guys were mentioning. You might have an idea going into it. You might think, we're going to run this play, we're going to run this defense. It gets scratched by the time the season starts. I mean, you might keep the base of it, but talking about, watching college games. I was watching UConn earlier this season, and I saw they ran some action that I like to get somebody downhill. And we've got a kid that's decent. His name's Jay Allen Turner, and if you get him downhill, he's scary. So we threw the play in the next day, and it's like little stuff like that you just learn on the fly. You learn throughout time. But my biggest kind of thing maybe I've learned, or my biggest blessing just being here, is being around good people, being around good kids. I've got great relationships with a lot of guys that have graduated. Sent a couple guys to play college basketball, some playing college baseball. And I just want to do anything I can to be that guy to help them in any way I can. Even guys that don't play sports, I just want to help them as much as I can. So I'm always thankful for the opportunity, man. I just super thankful, because if they would let me live here at the gym, I would. I would just live here. I just love it. This last month it's been terrible. I've been so bored. I just love the game of basketball. So hopefully I can just keep that love for as long as I'm here, because I just want to do this for as long as I possibly can. So,
Coach Jimmy, I'll go to you, and this kind of segues into our next topic, and that's this high school transfer portal. I know people don't like the terminology of transfer portal, but obviously everybody knows that the law is now a law here in the state of West Virginia of student athletes being able to transfer while in high school, and not being able to sit out. But I'll go to you, and I'll just to kick off, just from a veteran's perspective as a head coach, and I know the other two coaches will have an opinion on the quote unquote high school transfer portal, but kind of give me your thoughts. What are your thoughts? Are you for it? Are you against it? What questions do you have? Walk me through that.
I don't know. We've had, we in Wheeling, we have Wheeling Park, we have Wheeling Central, we have Lindsley. All three had very good teams this year. And we've had, over the past 40 years, kids leave here, go to Central, kids from Central come here. So it's happened to an extent. I just think now that it's just going to be a little easier to do. I do think that the kids and the parents should have some flexibility. I think but I'm just afraid, like, is it going to, especially where Hunter's at in the Kanawha area, who knows? They've always had some transfers here and there, not specifically Charleston Catholic, but I know sometimes we're playing a South Charleston or a Capital, and then they're on another roster the next year. So I don't know. I just have different thoughts on it. And honestly, what I think has happened is we have seen the college landscape and college game, and social media is just coming at us full force. And we're seeing these kids in 21, 22, 23 years old leave. And it is now kind of filtering down into the high school. But then what is the end goal? Like a small percentage are going to go on and play in college. So what is the end goal if you end up at 3 high schools? And, because part of high school, and these guys have touched on, is building those relationships, being around teammates, just having loyalty. But I think it's just really just been such an emphasis at the college that it has now come down to our level, I guess, if that makes sense. So we have benefited from transfers. We went to the state tournament in 2022. We had a starter go to Virginia, and we had a bench player go to Lindsley. Like, you just have to be prepared that these things can happen, even in a good situation and off a good season.
Coach Olson, I thought something that Coach Jebby just said right there, and he used a specific word that I've heard consistently throughout these last couple of weeks since this ruling became a law, and that's the L word, and that's loyalty. I asked the same question for John Kennedy last week, because this is a word that I think people take for granted sometimes, but for somebody that's been coaching now, entering your 9th year, you coach in front of a very passionate fan base. You have a lot of camaraderie amongst you and your players. How much of an emphasis now, if at all, will loyalty be preached to your guys, just to let them know that you're here and you're still going to do what you do? It's just a matter of where their minds at, just continuing to preach that L word and loyalty.
Well, I'm not going to tiptoe around the subject because, and just because my opinion doesn't mean another coach's opinion is I feel like I feel like it's time. Society times change, and it's everything changes. Inflation, prices, gas prices, car prices, people change. I mean, people are more people have anxiety, more people are depressed. It's just a different world we're living in, and the times change. And am I going to be affected by it at some point negatively? Absolutely. Am I probably going to get kids now because the area we're in? We're different than up in Wheeling and Charleston. And are we probably thought of as one of the better programs in the area? Are we going to get kids from outside the area to come in? Absolutely. Am I going to have problems inside my program because a kid's going to come in and it won't work out? Absolutely. But I have a son that's in 10th grade. He'll be one of our better returning players. I have a daughter, which I just told you I came from her travel practice, who's working hard in both sports. And if she gets to high school and I want her to have the opportunity and we put in all this work in both sports and I feel like the school is not up to par, then, I would look at a change for my daughter, not even from a coaching standpoint. And I would look at putting her in the best position as a father I would need to put her in to be successful. Just like if Shady, which it isn't, is not a great academic school, I would transfer. And I'm not going to hide behind people are transferring to Shady for academics. We don't have any transfers. We're built on a hometown program, but we're all going to get kids and lose kids. But the one thing that does scare me with kids coming in is the kids that come in that think they're going to play and wind up messing like our family and loyalty type thing up. We build this program to be close knit, to hard work, to hang your hat on, busting your ass and doing the things you need to. And the kids that come in that weren't built around this program that expect to play, and then they're going to be sitting here upset because they're not playing, because they're not used to the intensity and the level of style that you have to put in the hard work. Obviously you hear all kinds of stuff. But I'm for it, honestly. As a parent, I'm for it. As a coach, I'm fine with it because I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And just like gas prices, I can sit there and complain and say, I don't want to pay $3.50, $3.90 a gallon, but I'm still going to fill my tank up. I'm still going to coach my program as hard as I can. I'm still going to work in the off season, but I feel like, I think it's going to be a little overreaction. I think more so in the Kanawha Valley, it's going to be an issue because there's school within vicinity. We have Woodrow and Shady, basically, Independence and Liberty and Pikeview, but some of those are football schools and there's not many basketball schools. It's us and Woodrow, so it's not going to be as easy as, you're going to hear kids senior year, but I'm for it. I think it needs a change. I don't know that there's a right answer. I know that there's a one transfer rule. I think that's the right rule. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think you can even transfer back to your home school. Is that right?
That sounds correct.
So I don't know that there's a right answer. I do know that there needs to be change because here's my thing. None of the coaches on this panel, I know all of them. I follow every high school coach in our state pretty much. And I know they put the hard work in, but if we have coaches that are doing it half-ass and you got a kid busting his butt in the gym 7 days and twice on Sunday, then I think it's an injustice to him to make him stay at a school where a guy that's just trying to get a paycheck to boost his salary for him to retire at the end of his career, so that's just me. I think it needs to be done, and I'm going to lose kids. I know that no matter if I lose my best players, I'm not going to sit up here and say it needs to be changed. So all of us will be negatively and positively affected by it. So I'm fine with it.
You must have hired a PI today because you must have seen how agitated I was with gas prices today because you kept bringing up gas prices. I'm just like, man, I was just ticked off today. And I mean, eventually, as you said, it's the reality of things. You're going to do it. You're going to pay for it. So again, you must have hired like a PI or something. You just came firing. I felt that personally, Coach. I feel attacked. No, I'm just kidding.
I filled up before I came home today, and I was not very happy.
Coach Walls, I'll go to you. And I thought, again, both coaches have mentioned a lot of great things, but the one thing that you keep hearing, and you may hear this as well, being in the area, and that is the Kanawha Valley with so many different high schools. You got yourself, you got Hoover, you got South Charleston, Capital, George Washington, and that's just all in a small area. Now, from your standpoint, as one of the smaller schools in the Charleston area, How do you see this affecting you all at Charleston Catholic?
All right, so I got a lot of things on it probably, but I definitely like both of your guys' points, and also like I'm not I'm open to hearing different opinions on it because I think every school is going to have a different opinion, right? So that, and this is why I think this is really good, Taylor, to have like different. You got different areas here. You got a private school. You've got a lot of different things. So I think this is good. But for us personally at Catholic, okay, if I want to go get, let's just say a kid, who doesn't matter, right? You've got to be able to pay thousands of dollars a year. You've got to wear a uniform. You've got to take the hardest classes. It's not the easiest recruiting sale in the world for me. I could be Phil Jackson out there and I could do whatever on the basketball court, but it's not the easiest sell in the world for me to get guys to come to Charleston Catholic. So I just, if there's a kid interested, I think everybody's going to say, if this kid is interested coming to my school and he's a decent basketball player, then yeah, I'm going to encourage him and say, yeah, man, you should come, or whatever, however that may go. But I'm not actively going out, talking to people, talking to players and trying to get them to come to Catholic. It's just hard though. There's a lot of things that go into, I think we got to realize, like, I'm not a parent yet, but like Coach Olson was saying, like he wants his kids to have the best, is school and just everything. They want to be around the right people. So I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of things that go into this transfer thing. But I do want to clarify that when you say transfer portal, when you look at college, kids are putting their names into a portal where coaches are going through the list and then they're openly recruiting them, right? This isn't the same where it's not like kids are like going to put their name into a list and we're all going to start calling them and say, hey, come to Shady, come to Will. We're not doing that. So they can it's just letting them, and they already could go to any school they wanted to as a ninth grader, right? So if coming out of middle school and I didn't want to pay for Charleston Catholic in middle school, but now there's the Hope Scholarship. Now there's other opportunities. Now I want to try to send my kid to Charleston Catholic High School. They were allowed to do that, even if they were in, the Kanawha Valley. So now, and another thing, Charleston Catholic is not taking juniors and seniors at a very high level. There might be a couple, but if you're a junior and senior, you're probably not going to get admitted into the school. I get Facebook messages, I get texts, I get calls. Hey, I got this kid. I can't do anything for you. I coach basketball from 6 to 8 during the season, and whoever shows up is who. I don't have anything to do with that. I don't want anything to do with it. Now, if there's kids that are playing another sport and I go to homecoming and I go to the pep rally and I see a kid and he's I'm trying to recruit that kid because he's there at Catholic, right? But it's different than college. But like these guys were mentioning, we're seeing it in college, so it's getting down to our level. I'm not big on transferring. That's just not what we did. I was probably right before or right when it started happening. I think my dad is the one that said, hey, you're not getting enough playing time. Well, you need to work harder. You need to do X, Y, and Z. You need to get better. Every kid's not going to be the star player. So you can transfer as much as you want, but at the end of the day, you got to put the work in. There's just a lot of things that go into this transfer thing with the private school, the public school. I think everyone is going to have their own opinion, and I think everyone has to be open to others' opinions on it. And I think because every kid's situation is a little different. So a lot of things with it. I just want to make sure everybody knows it's not like we're going out and coaches are going to be calling kids and saying, hey, come to this school. I mean, next we're going to be giving out NIL deals, I guess.
Don't want to get me started on NIL because I don't know if we want to go down that rabbit hole yet, but it is what it is. But Coach W, going back to you, and when you look at, again, I'll use the duration of your coaching career as part of this question, but looking back on it, whenever you first started coaching, did you ever imagine that something to this extent would ever come about? Because you mentioned how there's always kids going to be going from Park to Central, or Central to Lindsley, or Lindsley to Park, or whatever it may be. It seems like it's a carousel almost. But when you first started coaching, did you ever think it would reach this level? I mean, whether or not, because obviously you played collegiately, but did you think it would reach this point?
No, I mean, I didn't, but as Ronnie said, the world's changed and we have to adapt. And we didn't, the four of us on here, we didn't decide this. So we have to adjust and go with it. And there's been transfers in the Wheeling area before. So, but yeah, I feel like areas in like Kanawha and the Eastern Panhandle could really be, happening more. But no, I didn't. I mean, I was the first year's head coach. It's 2007. My first year's head coach, we were using VHS tapes. The next few years, we were using a DVD. And then by year 6 or 7, it was Huddle. Been through 3 video systems in 17, 18 years. So you got to adapt. Things change. And like Hunter said, everyone's got different opinions, and everyone's answer doesn't mean it's correct. We have to listen to other people. We have to be open-minded. And we just have to adjust. And, if a kid comes here and visits Wheeling Park and shadows and likes it and enrolls, then he can be involved in our summer program and stuff. But as Ronnie said, we're going to gain kids. We're going to lose kids. Grass isn't always greener when you hop over to another school. But I guess, so it's a one-time transfer. So they're able to move one. They're not going to be able to be multiple.
Yeah,
which I think helps there.
Yeah, I don't think I had VHS tapes on my bingo card today at all. I mean, I feel like my parents. I can still imagine just going home, and my parents used to always have this big stack of VHS tapes, and eventually my dad would come in and be like, "You see those VHS tapes towards the bottom?" Well, I'm just saying that
2007. I know. My first year of coaching, we had VHS.
Now listen, you guys can help. You can hold me accountable if we go to the state tournament this year. And obviously, you expect your program to be back, and a team beats us and they're a brand new team from all transfers. And then and I complain. You say, well, Ronnie, you know what? you said you were for this thing and it was okay. So hold me to that. No, I mean, that's the thing as us coaches, we've got to, I've thought about, that's something, you got to think about next year. I know that I expect us to be right back in the top 3 team in the state next year, with what we got. But I know that there's going to be a curveball thrown at me for some of those things, like Eastern Panhandle. Some of those, there's going to be some schools that, bring a guy in. I mean, heck, I hear rumors, all kinds of kids that we're going to get. I'm never going to recruit a kid, but it's injustice to me. We're in a public school system. If a kid enrolls at a school and I say, no, you can't play here, that's not fair. I'm going to be loyal to the kids that work hard for me. I'm not going to invite transfers in, but I will say, like, there's going to be new teams that pop up this year that I know that some coaches they are recruiting. They are actively recruiting, so, that's going to happen. We're going to run into teams this year that probably we didn't think were as good that they were. And, and so we'll see all new team, I'd say, here with 1 or 2 teams in all classes.
The days of saying, oh, okay, they have 3 guys back, they have 2 guys back.
Yeah.
Throw that out the window.
Yeah, you're right.
Wait till November till they post the rosters on SSAC if they do get posted.
You're exactly right.
The shot right there from Coach Jebbia. But but Coach Moles, I'll go back to you. And from listening to what you said just a few minutes ago, I could be wrong. You can hold me to it if I am. But it seems like you might have a question or two that you may think needs answered. What would those questions be that you would need answered about this whole transfer rule?
I mean, I don't know if it's just the rule. I mean, I do want to make sure it's clarified. Like everybody's saying, you just get 1 transfer, you don't get it back to your home, or however it was worded.
They don't have a COVID year is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I guess. But my main question is, what are we transferring for? What are we transferring for? And like I said, I'm not a parent, so I can't sit here. I don't have the same experience of saying my kid's not. I just don't like the way my kid's being treated, or I think he's can X, Y, and Z. But I don't know, man. I don't know what what do we need to transfer so much for is kind of my question. I don't know. like I can't remember who exactly said it. We got to roll with it. We're not making the rules, and that's I'm. You mentioned me being kind of young. I think I'm the youngest in the state. Man, I'm just rolling with it. I don't. That's why I don't really have too big of an opinion. If they tell us we're gonna open up the recruiting, if they tell us we're gonna do this, I'm just gonna go and kind of roll with it. So I'll try to just follow and do whatever my principal and AD want me to do, and just go with it, man. I mean, there's like we keep talking about. There's probably some benefits to transferring, but when I'm talking about just basketball wise, the only thing you could, I guess you're saying you're transferring because what, playing time? I mean, what else are we transferring for? That's my main question. If you ask me what's my question about the rule.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Olson, going back to you, you keep mentioning how if there is a kid that does come in and you do have that first interaction with them and you're like, hey, listen, we got guys, but you got to show me that you are willing enough to put on this Shady Spring jersey. How do you go about having those conversations if in fact that does happen? And again, this is all hypothetical. How do you go about having those tough conversations with somebody that comes into the program expecting big things, but then reality kicks in and then boom, all of a sudden they're getting what they thought wasn't going to happen, but it did happen?
Pretty simple. Nothing's given and everything's earned. And I hate to be cliche and wordplay, but that's I could say that's how I run my program, and probably these two guys can too. I don't care if it's my son. I don't care if it's my uncle's brother's neighbor's cousin's second brother. I'm not gonna. I don't care who comes in. You own a multi-million-dollar business in the area. I love to golf. If I get free golf, it don't matter. So you got to earn it. You got to get it. I don't care who it is. Whoever comes in the gym, I'm going to coach. And it's pretty simple. There's no black and white for me. There's no gray area. It is, you're in the gym, you bust your ass, you're going to play. It's pretty simple. So whoever it is, and now that's something that I've talked to my guys about in our exit meetings this year with the guys returning. Hey, we hear names all the time, and this guy may transfer, and that's something as a motivational thing. Listen, don't expect just because this guy's back, we don't know who's going to come into our program. So you take this off season as though you got everybody in the county coming for your position, and whether that's, good or bad, but I mean, that's something that, we need to prepare for. And I would prefer to have my team intact with no transfers. I'm not going to lie. I got a great team. I love my guys. They sat there, they've waited their time on JV under these guys. But I know there's going to be guys coming in that may not help or may ruin my program, or, so, who knows? We'll see in June. We'll see in November or August when people enroll. But just play hard. And that's all I got to say. It's pretty simple. And, we had Luke LaRose, who was a 2,000-point scorer, transfer to Shady Spring, and he was really close with Tommy Williams, and those guys played AAU together, and Braden Chapman and them guys. And he transferred over. They have the financial means to live, Glade Springs, and everybody said, you got a kid transferring. And the day he put on, he gave me maximum effort, hard work, and I consider him, Shady Spring Tiger. He gave me everything he had. That was COVID year. And so him and I are still close to today. We speak probably about once a month. So he came in and laced them up. That's basketball. Anybody that's played know you respect the game. So that's pretty much simple for me.
Coach Chevy, going to you, I'll ask you a similar question I just asked Coach Moles, and that is, it still seems like you may have something that, like a question or two that you may want addressed. What would those be if you do have a question or two about this whole transfer rule?
I guess just to wonder if, I guess recruiting still could happen, obviously, to an extent, as it's probably happened before, but it's just, I guess, a little bit more open now and easier to transfer. But, we knew this was possibly coming, and we have to adjust and we have to adapt. And, but there's still going to be, we have how many schools in the state? There may be a coach out there that thinks he sees a kid playing at a school that's the sixth or seventh guy and comes over here to help their, maybe at a smaller school. So, but then it works on the other end. The star at the Singway school may want to try to move up, but, they're going to be a starter at Morgantown High. You don't know. You don't know, and then you don't get that transfer back. So I guess next year we'll know a little bit more at this time.
Segueing into our next topic of discussion, that's community support. I think each of these schools and each of these programs have fantastic fan bases, and we'll talk about each of them individually. And Coach Moles, I'll start with you because you guys pop out, and so does Shady, but you guys pop out because walking out, you can definitely recall the memories of the state tournament. I mean, either it was a sea of green or it was a sea of white. Regardless, you guys had a fantastic section in the state tournament. Just kind of walk me through how great has this been for you to be able to coach in front of a fantastic fan base that Charleston Catholic has established as one of the better ones in Class AA?
Yeah, it's been great, man. We have a great supporting community, fan base, just a lot of different people. And we're a smaller school. We don't have the huge numbers, but we have some people that alumni and just things of that nature. But one of the cool things that I learned about Charleston Catholic is, and what kids remember a lot is when we make the state tournament, they literally walk to the Civic Center because it's right down the street. And that's kind of big for the school and just the students. And like everyone just has a really good time. And it's right around St. Patrick's Day. We got lucky that we got to play on St. Patty's Day in the semis. It really helped us, I think, get some luck and push through. So there's a lot of different things, but I think walking to the Civic Center is super cool. All the kids, you know, they're really hard academically, but they get to walk down and go. So that's always a goal for ours to get there. I know we played at like 9:30 in the morning my second year, and we just had a huge crowd. So I mean, I'm just super blessed to be here and just have the support that we have. It all starts with our players, though, and that's just something we give them. Like, you know, we try to put a hard schedule together because our fans want to come watch big games. So I've been told like every single year we've been here that we've had the biggest gate that they've seen and things like that. So that's always, it's fun to hear. It's not something that you're looking at, or when I'm scheduling a game, I'm like, well, this will be a good game for this or that, but it's fun to hear.
Coach Olson, I'll go to you. And I know the two of us have talked before about the community support that you guys have. You guys are like West Virginia, because everybody knows that whenever West Virginia goes on the road to play a conference game or a game in general, you know for a fact they travel well. And I always look back on your all's community and your all's fans traveling to the Greenbrier. Now, granted, it was a short drive, but you guys had almost a full section of the bleachers just covered in school colors. Just kind of walk me through how helpful that is and how strategic that is for you as a coach, having a fan base that travels so well. And then whenever you go to a rival school, or you go to a school on the road that you know that your fans are going to be there and you know that they're going to show that love. And it's just great to see that from your perspective.
I get goosebumps just thinking about it. You know, I think that's one of the single most things, not the most important, that we've been able to create here at Shady. Coach Jebbia knows, he's played down in Beckley. You know, Woodrow, you know, that was Woodrow, you know, and playing in the same town as Woodrow. I think we broke the cap 4 years ago when we beat Woodrow for the first time in the Armory. We were 0-92. I was able to, you know, go 1-0 versus Woodrow, and we haven't lost to him once since then. You know, and I think the whole community. We have an old school. This has been around. Shady's been around forever. They've been in the state tournament once, and our community is. I'm not just saying it's phenomenal. I cannot tell you. Every grocery store. If I'm in a bad mood, sometimes I'll make my wife go out because I just don't want to be around people. But I love going to the grocery stores, the mom and pop, little gas stations we have here, and our fan base is phenomenal. It's. I mean, you come in. We haven't lost a home game in close to 4 years. Our seniors are 42-0, 43-0 in their careers. You come in, you're sitting in front of 2,000, 2,500 people in a gym. It's electric, and I think the biggest thing about this year was our guys, and myself included, we lost in the state championship game. It was more we let our community down than anything, because how much they put into our program. Off seasons, they come to open gyms, they come to everything. And it's like a old school West Virginia, and it's got that feel. And to be part of and help create and to say I had a little hand in it is great. They come in our gym, and when they go on the road, it's awesome. And we have 80, 90-year-olds, and we have video productions that streams every one of our games, and you can read some of that stuff and go through there. And there's a 92-year-old from Kentucky or an 86-year-old graduate from 1946. That stuff is awesome, and I do not ever take that lightly, and I take the very, very much to heart on every time I coach, every practice, every off season. I try to preach that to my guys. We have a community that truly lives through us and takes pride in us. And I think that's my job as a coach to push that on to my players. And I think that's why we play with a chip on our shoulder, because we have that community backing. You know what I mean? I think that's special. So it's very important to me. And I think what we build here with the community is great.
Coach Jibby, I'll go to you because you guys play in an iconic venue. Whenever people talk about boys high school basketball gyms, it's always Willie Acres Fieldhouse. Parkersburg High School always has a very fantastic review as well. And then obviously right there in the mix is the Palace. Personally, I know that the two of us have talked about getting me up there. I've always wanted to go up there for a game, but you spoke very highly about not only the venue, but the support that you guys get whenever you do have the Wheeling Central Catholics of the world and the Lindleys of the world as well. Just kind of talk about how special it is to not only play in the Palace, but also be able to coach in the Palace as the head coach of your alma mater.
And just bringing that up, I just watched our baseball team play. All of our facilities, we're very fortunate. We passed a bond in 2018, and some of our facilities got upgrades, classrooms, obviously. But we now have turf on our softball field, turf on our baseball field. We have the Wheeling Island Stadium where the Super Six is held, and we have a beautiful gym that we just got a video board in. Our community, our Board of Education, we're very, very fortunate. And the gym is big, so sometimes it's not always filled. But we had great crowds against Morgantown this year. Our boys game against Morgantown, our girls played Morgantown multiple times. Great crowds, but we are in Wheeling too. So those games are drawing like 1,000 views on YouTube. So I do think sometimes people are staying home compared to, we've not played in front of a standing room only crowd. It's been a little while, but we do get solid crowds. John Marshall came up, the place was filled. It was Hall of Fame night. And the years we've gone to the state tournament, I think it's been 23 times. If we're able to advance, we get very good crowds. But I do think that sometimes the single A, double A, and I know Ronnie's triple A, that those communities sometimes just come out in droves, especially with proximity. And I know when we were playing Logan, and at the time Logan was triple A in the state championship game. And when I tell you they had 5,000 fans at the game and there was about 7,000 fans there total, I had not seen anything quite like it as a spectator, as a player, as a coach, to come out that their whole behind the bucket was filled, lower level, upper level, and then gold and blue just all surrounded around. They're definitely when you start mentioning fan bases, they're one. And Ronnie mentioned Beckley. We had great games with them, played in the Armory, and they came here. So we're still getting good crowds, but like we play, sometimes we would be playing East Liverpool Power from Ohio, and I think Lindsley had a game, Central had a game, Wheeling Nailers might be playing. There might be a musical at the Capitol, where we're in an area where there are some other things going on. So, Wheeling Park and Morgantown may play, and some people have no idea. But we've had great support. Sam Andy had got that going from the get-go, and our venue is beautiful. Back in 1976, to build a gym, and we've lost some seating since we've put in new bleachers, but to build a gym there of, I think it may be a shade under 2,000, but in that 2,000 area, it's great. And we just got the video board up. We were able to use it for the last couple of girls and boys games. So we'll be able to add, and we get great sponsors and things like that in our community, no doubt. So we're fortunate in Wheeling, and we do have a great venue in the Palace.
Coach Bowles, I'll go back to you because you mentioned how special it is for not only you all being able to witness the student body being able to walk from the school to the Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center, but just kind of go along the lines of kind of what Coach Olson said, and that is playing for your community, being that spark for people. And because I know the state really drives off of high school athletics, but how much of a message do you say to your guys about how, and I'll use a hugs line, and he says it's not about what's on the back of your jersey, it's about what's on the front of your jersey. How often do you preach that to your guys throughout the course of a season?
Almost every day. We say Irish pride. Irish pride is huge. Got signs in the locker room. We talk about alumni. We talk about tradition. We talk about that stuff almost daily. We try to get as many alumni back to games. We'll have alumni nights. We've had, I'll be honest with you, Coach McClanahan came my first year, I think, and talked to the guys before we played Huntington St. Joe. I was ready to run through a brick wall. I mean, I was ready to go. He said they had a saying that there was no 50-50 balls. They were all ours. And we have stole that from him. And every time I say it, I try to throw in credit to him and say, that's not just we do. That's what Charleston Catholic does. So we're super big on that, super big on doing it more than just ourselves. Constantly telling the guys that, they're not going to be here forever. There's only 4 years. You got to try to put up a banner. You got to try to do what you can do to be remembered here, because there's a lot of tradition here. There's a lot of successful people and teams. So we use that stuff all the time, man. And just try to I think it helps the guys to just become more unselfish. Understand it's not all about you. It's not about me. It's not about anybody. Because essentially when you get that banner, it says Charleston Catholic boys basketball, and that's it. It says the year. That's it. It doesn't have our individual names. So we talk about that a lot with our guys.
Coach Olson, I'll end this segment with you. And you mentioned how you guys have had a lot of success at your home gymnasium with this year's senior class. And I thought the word that really sticks out that Coach Moles just mentioned is the tradition. And I think you can definitely agree with this, but I think the tradition that you guys have been able to build with this year's senior class and even classes before that, I think you guys will definitely look back on that and be like, if you guys want to have a winning tradition and a winning culture, that's the blueprint. And then how, along that line, how do you go about saying that while also tying in the community support and letting the guys understand that you have to balance both of those things? Because when you're having a winning tradition, that means that the community support is going to be there even more so than it already is.
Oh, yeah. If I sit up here and say, we're going to play as hard as we can for 4 quarters, but we're going to be 3-21 and we're going to pack the gym, I'm lying, being number one and playing the state championship and not losing at home for 3 years has definitely helped us. And we're not like Wheeling or Charleston. You can't do anything in Shady Spring on a Friday night or a Tuesday night. They won't let you in the restaurants down here until the game's over. So you might they're starting to put them on the TVs though. But no, that goes hand in hand. I always tell the guys, find what motivates you. What motivates you may not motivate me, whether it be you play for your girlfriend, you play for your grandma, maybe you play for social media. I don't care what you play for. Whatever you find a motivation, and that's fine, because what motivates me isn't going to motivate you. And but everybody wants to play in front of a packed house, right? There's not one player that anybody can coach would rather play in front of 200 people as opposed to 2,000. So with that, it goes hand in hand. You win, they'll come. I don't care how good you are. Or your tradition's been. If you have a bad team in any sport, it's norm. It's human nature. I wouldn't fault somebody for not wanting to come watch us put a good product on the floor. Even if we're giving good effort. So, that's life. So that goes hand in hand. They take pride in tradition, and I think the community rewards that. That's something I'm interested in next year, because we're used to playing in front of so many people and we've been successful. That's easy motivation for my guys, right? It's your turn, step up, next up. So, and I'm excited to see what our community does for the group of guys that are coming up next year, that are going to be playing. hopefully in another state tournament. So I think those two go hand in hand.
Let's shift our focus now into the 4-class system. And this was another year in the books for this 4-class system. Obviously, everybody knows about now that we have Class Quad A all the way to Class Single A. And Coach W, I'll start with you because this may not have affected you, but I'm always interested in your perspective and your opinion with stuff like this. Do you think before I say that, take it from the standpoint of the fact that you've played in the state of West Virginia, you've been able to be successful both as a player and a coach. Now with this change with the 4-class system, does West Virginia need 4 classes?
I'm not sure that we need it. We've obviously lost population. I mean, there's a couple areas that obviously Morgantown and Eastern Panhandle that have grown, but we've lost population, but we've added a class. But I will say the positive to it is at the single A level, some of the public schools that maybe would not have had success prior to, Cameron High School was very close to us. They're in different summer leagues and stuff that we're at, and their boys and girls teams have done well. Their girls teams have won the state title 2 years in a row. So if there was still the old single A, would that have happened? Maybe, but I don't know. So I think it's helped. I think a couple years back, Man High School made a nice run through the tournament. Our division has not really changed at all, but the other 3 have been affected. So I think Hunter and Ronnie probably could answer it a little bit more. I don't know if we fully need it. I mean, Ohio has how many more teams, and they're at 4 classes. So looking just at a compare state that's close to us, they have way more schools, obviously a way bigger state, and they're at 4. So, but I do think there's definitely been positives to the 4 classes, no doubt.
Coach Bowl, similar question to you. Does West Virginia need a 4-class system?
The answer is no, it doesn't need it. That's the key word, is need. I don't think it needs it. Goes back to what we were talking about earlier. We're gonna roll with whatever we get told to do. So I don't have that strong of an opinion on it. Like, I'm not super against it. I'm not super for it, but it doesn't affect the 4A, old 3A. It doesn't affect them. It's kind of all the same. Kind of breaks up everything else. And I mean, let's just be honest. That's when you have a girls team that won 10 out of the last 11 state championships. I mean, they're breaking it up. I get it. I'm not oblivious to our kids and what they have and the resources they have to get a little more maybe outside training, things like that. I get it. I do. I really don't mind, though, because I'm a competitor. And if you say, hey, you're in AA and you're playing against these guys, okay, let's go play. And we're going to play the toughest schedule we possibly can anyways. So let's go play. That's just me being a competitor. But to answer the question, does it need it? No, it doesn't really need it. I think it, it changed. We only got 3 teams in our section. I mean, we had to win 1 game to make the state tournament, if you think about it, because we got an automatic sectional championship game because we're the 1 seed. We could have lost that, went on the road and won a regional game and been in the state tournament. So I think it made it a little too easy to a point to make the state tournament. But there's benefits to both. Like we're saying, you got teams that maybe they just couldn't have competed on a yearly basis with some of, the private schools that are bringing different kids in or whatnot. Some public schools are bringing in people, some private schools are bringing in. It just, do we need it? No. Is it helping? I think it's giving us more. It's given us more attendance to the state tournament. You got more teams coming. You got more people winning. So people are going to be a little more happy because you got 1 more winner. You got 8 more teams showing up to the big house. I mean, you can't really complain too much about it. We lost to Chapmanville in the championship. They got a decent amount more kids at their school. What does that doesn't matter to me. Let's go play. That's just me. Let's go play whoever they tell us to play.
Coach Olson, same question to you. Do you think West Virginia needs a 4-class system?
I'll kind of echo Coach Moles there. I'm not really like the transfer thing. I was, strong on, but this, it moves every year. We've shifted in from AAA to AA for the past 10 years. I think obviously money drives everything. And if everybody knows that this was not to make more students have the experience of the state tournament, money is what drives everything, just like expanding the college football playoffs. So, I think it's great to get other teams there. I don't know if anybody's familiar. I'll tell you a little funny story. 100 West Virginia. You guys know where that is? 100 West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you've heard of it. Have you all ever been there?
No.
I think I've driven through it.
Well, I do. I'm a teacher, but I also own my own business, and I was driving, going to do some counseling up north, as far away from where I live. So I'm there last week, and I have to go to 100 West Virginia, which is, I have probably been about every corner of West Virginia there is, from McDowell County and this 100 West Virginia is in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and it's probably about the size of our high school from the gas station in length. Well, I got pulled over anyways, but he let me go. We talked basketball. I got pulled over right in front of high school as well. So, anyways, but that right there, I came home, talked to my wife. I said, if I'm used to Wyoming County and these small McDowell County schools. I just thought that was phenomenal for how small that community was. And for them to get the opportunity, like when I say I've been everywhere in West Virginia, I pretty much have. And that place is probably one of the smallest places I've ever been. And for them to get to go there to the state tournament is awesome. So you can't argue that, And the one thing I get irritated with some people to say, give everyone a trophy. No, everybody's not getting a trophy. I do agree the sectional regionals. I don't know what the right answer is for that. I think there should be. I'm all for getting to the state tournament every year, but I also would like, 4 or 5 teams in a sectional. So I don't know what the right answer with that, with realignment. Maybe you could just do super. I don't know. But I think it's awesome that other teams get to go and experience it. How can you not? I mean, that's so cool to get to see other teams play on that floor. I played on it as a player. I think everybody here on the panel did. And to play on that floor is something that is great, and the coach on it is iconic in itself. So I think it's pretty cool.
So follow up to that is, and that you did a great job with unintentionally segueing into our final discussion, and that is the state tournament. And you mentioned how teams being able to make it. Obviously, it seems like we're having a different champion in each of the 4 classes every year. But Coach Olson, staying with you, do you think that magic and that spark is still there from a spectator's perspective? I mean, obviously, you mentioned the side of it for the players and the coaches, but just from what you may hear, do you think that magic and spark is still there for spectators attending the boys' state high school basketball tournament?
110%. There is, and I'm not just speaking for my school and saying, oh, I have a big community backing, because we do, but I know that, there, even when I was in high school, there was schools and communities that when they had good teams didn't show up, just like they didn't do 10 years ago, just like they're going to do now. But the schools that have good community backing, they're going to be there. And I think I probably went to as many games as I could between coaching and shoot arounds and different things, but it's electric. I mean, I just think I don't know the attendance, I don't know the numbers, but I do know that that place was pretty packed this year, and it was pretty packed last year. So not just for my games, for other games, people just love to watch good basketball. And I think that this year there was a lot of good teams. There was probably 3 or 4 good teams in each class that probably could beat anyone. So I think that helped, but I definitely do not think that it's gone down. Internet's helped not make people go out. NFHS, a lot of people stay home and watch that, just like they do our YouTube and video productions thing. That's normal. But I feel electric. Maybe it's me because I love being in the state tournament so much. But our people down here can't wait. They buy their tickets ahead of time. So I think it still is as sparkling gem and a mecca of high school hoops in West Virginia as you can be, and that's what we call it, the mecca of high school hoops. Everybody dreams about playing on that Civic Center floor, and that's what you play for, and that's all you got to say in practice, right? You want to play here? I mean, hell, we have pictures of it all over our locker room. So, I mean, that's pretty special to me. I don't know about. I'd like to hear from the other coaches as well.
Coach Jebbia, going to you, and again, as Coach Olson said, everybody on this panel has played in the state tournament. Each of you guys have coached in the state tournament as well at a high level. From when you played in the state tournament to now entering or concluding your 18th year, what changes have you noticed with either the format of the state tournament or the energy level of the state tournament? Just walk me through some of the changes that you've noticed over your tenure.
Well, in terms of format, and Ronnie probably remembers this, the tournament wasn't seeded until 2005. So there was a year where we actually finished the regular season. I believe it was my senior year, number 1. Beckley was number 2. We played in semifinals, and the game drew about 11 or 12,000 fans. Beckley and DuPont, 1994, they played in the first round. So that wouldn't have happened in the modern era. I still think the crowds are good. I think some of the adults that have gone for 30, 40, 50 years, that we don't have as many of that. Some of them are just getting older. The population is older. Shady Spring, Charleston Catholic are going to have great followings no matter what year that is. But just in terms of trying to get a 10,000 or 12,000, I don't know. Do you need a Randy Moss, a Jason Williams, a Brett Nelson, an OJ Mayo type thing for that to happen? It's a big venue. It is. It is a big venue. I think it's my first memories going there are, and I think it was 1993, 94. But one of the first tournament games I ever saw was DuPont and Beckley in 1994. Ronnie was probably there as well. It was just amazing. I don't know if we can ever match. I don't know if that could ever be matched.
Yeah.
When you try to compare back 30 years, but in different places are going to have different crowds. Unfortunately, the Eastern Panhandle, there's usually 2 big schools make it. It's tough for them to get people there. So, a lot depends on matchups, the communities, the proximity, things of that nature. I guess the other thing, we played last year 9:30. You hate to do one of your biggest games of the year, but with 4 classes, it's almost, our girls had to play the state finals against Morgantown at 10 a.m. But things are on a rotation. I'm on that committee. And one of the things we brought up was, Coach Tolman had talked to me about why does 4A always have to play Thursday, Friday, Saturday? So we talked about that at our meeting, on the committee meeting. And now it's, as you guys know, it'll be on a rotation to make things fair.
Coach Bowles, it seems like you were going to say something. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff on that. I think all you guys bring up a great point. And the main point is the state tournament is unbelievable. It's so fun to play in. It's been amazing to coach in, man. Like it's a great experience. And that's kind of tying that into the 4 classes. It's like Coach also said, like, how can you really be mad at giving people opportunity to play in that, essentially? So a couple things on it, though, brought up a lot of good points. NFHS was, I think, $12 for the whole tournament, but the ticket for one game is more than that. So, and I got a business degree, a master's in it. I understand business just fine. I get it. The Civic Center's got to make their money. The SSAC's got to make their money. Everybody's got to, do their thing with that. But, if you're not super invested, I might just pay for the $12 and just watch at home. It just depends who you are, right? So the ticket prices are, it's tough. I get that. I understand it, but it is kind of tough that I could watch the whole tournament for much cheaper than a single game ticket, or a session, I should say. Playing the 3 next year, and we get all 5 starters back, and we've got to play the 3 games in 3 days. So I was hoping we'd get a different rotation. I think it's tough for high school kids to play 3 games in 3 days, but at the same time, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. Both teams are doing it. So how much can you really complain about it? I do like that it's rotated. It just makes sense. I hear some people say, well, 4A is supposed to be, the bigger or whatever school. I don't think just because they're a bigger school means they should have to play 3 days in a row. I think that was a good move. I'm not looking forward to it. If we're able to do that, I'll tell you that. I have scheduled a lot of back-to-backs because I've already done that because you were going to have to win back-to-back to win a state championship. I didn't put a 3-game in 3 days in the season, but we got 3 games in a week. So you got to get your guys ready for that, essentially. The other thing I was going to say was the time of the games. I've only coached in, like, the first state tournament we made was COVID. We didn't get to play in it, but I've coached in 2 state tournaments, and I've played at a lot of different times. I've played at 9:30 in the morning in a classic against Polka in a semifinal. I mean, people came to that game because we didn't get to play them in the regular season. It was that shortened COVID year. They actually showed up to our gym to play, and our roof had a leak. We didn't get to play. So everyone was ready to see us play each other. That's 9:30 in the morning, and people showed up. And I think we can all agree, if you're going to put good basketball, good matchups are key. We played South Harrison, I think, at 9:30 p.m. Still a great crowd. So I think your original question was about the crowd. And how can you expect a Wheeling Park what are they going to do? Let their whole school out and bust them all down at 9:30 in the morning on a school day? And that's just tough to ask, is all I'm saying. That's a lot of travel. It's a lot going on. Some schools I think might do it a lot, but a lot aren't doing it during the school week. We're lucky, like I said, our kids get to literally walk to the game. So that's just a couple of things on it, but essentially I think it's in a good place. I mean, I've had an amazing time playing and coaching in it, so I think it's in a good place. There's little tweaks you could pick out here and there, but it's in a good place.
So I'm going to do this for the first time in this podcast panel. I'm going to open the floor for anybody. Anybody can take a shot at this. And that is, I mean, obviously, again, all 4 of us have played in it. You 3 have coached in it. And the question always is, especially either before, during, or after. So just a continuation, I should say. Here's the question for anybody to take a stab at it. Should the state tournament be moved out of Charleston? Because that's a big question everybody keeps asking. But between the 3 of you, anybody can go first. Should the boys state high school basketball tournament be moved out of Charleston?
No, keep it in Charleston, where my whole student body can walk down. Come on, Taylor. No, but seriously, I still would go with no. And I mean, I went to South Charleston, and so it's still in super close. But we just kept talking about how great it was to play there. I'm sure Wheeling's got a decent place to play, so we'll, I mean, I guess you could say the Armory too. I mean, you could always come with different places, but if it's not broke, don't fix it type thing.
We do have West Bank Arena. It seats about 5,000, 5,500. We play a tip-off classic down there. The one issue that we have is, some of those semifinal sessions. Yeah, I don't know. They draw more than that. I mean, obviously Charleston has the biggest arena. The outside of it is great. There could be some inside updates, hopefully coming soon, as those seats and some of those things have not changed. But the problem we have in Wheeling is we already have the MEC the first week. If they would do the girls the second week and the boys the third week, we still have a semi-pro hockey team. The one other area that I think that could be the possibility is playing at the WVU Coliseum, where it was played. Wheeling Park won a state championship there when the new Charleston Civic Center that we played now was being built. So, but then there's logistic issues there, if that's the right word, in terms of WVU women or men have a postseason NIT game or something like that, because that is a little bit more, I guess, in the middle of the state, and to play where WVU and Coach Huggins and the Mountaineers are at would be a great thrill to a lot of kids as well, because very few get to play ever on that court, obviously.
Yeah, I just think it makes. I mean, from a logistical standpoint, it makes no sense to take it out of Charleston. I mean, obviously, I'm a guy that likes tradition, but I mean, it's the closest thing. Money. I mean, you have state tournaments to be at a central location, and I think that's the most centralized location you can have is Charleston. I mean, obviously, I think WVU Coliseum would be awesome to play there. I think if I could choose, I think maybe that would be a switch it off, just because of the history of it. I think that's pretty cool. I think our guys would love to play there. That would be awesome. But logistically, I just think it makes more sense to play it in Charleston because of all the teams where everybody comes from. That'd be a nightmare. People complain about. I mean, Wheeling's tough already. I'll tell you how many state football tournament I want to come watch Independence. I graduated from Independence High School. And I want to go watch them play in a state championship, and some of the games I'd like to go up and watch some good high school football games, but I just don't want to take that drive to Wheeling, So
come up, stay at the casino. Come up and stay at the casino.
There's enough of that in my basement. I'm a card player. No, but it is just a central location. So, but I think WVU would be awesome. I don't know that they would ever do that. And like Coach W said, that if they're in the NIT, it's almost impossible, to. But if they make the NIT, it should trump anyways, because you made the NIT. I mean, it's NIT. Come on now, don't be happy to play an NIT.
So I lied. I have one other topic, and this is for everybody. Everybody's going to have an opportunity to talk about this. But one thing I wanted to talk to you three about, because going along the lines of building a program, you guys do an excellent job of that. I love watching each of you play and each of you coach your team, because you guys, your all's teams are physical. They get after it. And I'm not saying there aren't a lot of teams that do that, but you three were the first three that I thought of. And Coach Olson, I'll start with you. And I know the two of us have discussed it before, but what's your message to your guys when you do have this tradition of being a high-tempo team, a team that likes to get in your face? Gritty is always described with the latest Shady Spring team's toughness as well. What's your message to your guys each season whenever they either know or they don't know that there's a lot expected both offensively and defensively whenever I use those words gritty and toughness?
That's it, because you can control what you can control, and sometimes you can't control the things that you can't. Effort, hard work is, and coaches talk about it. Hey, we're going to be a hard-working team. We're going to outwork everybody. We're going to punch people in the mouth. We're going to hustle. We're going to do this, but you got to live, breathe, eat it. You've got to do it in practice. You can't just go in there and say you're going to do it in the games and expect guys to go after a loose ball or take a charge. If you don't do it, it's expected. It's there is no other way to play basketball here. If not, you can't play here. You just need to go somewhere else. And but I don't care if we're going to, we've been known as pressing teams. I don't care if we come in and press next year. I want to win. I don't care if we play 2-3 zone. I'm going to do what's right, what fits with my guys. So, but we're definitely never, ever, ever, ever going to get outworked. Sometimes we get, people work just as hard as us, and it may not go our way. But that's one thing you can control in basketball. That's what we want to do, is be a physical. And when we come in a gym, you're going to have to strap them up, because we're going to be there to play. But it's something that you just definitely cannot just do. You can't just go in and do it. You've got to do it every day. It's very hard. I'm not the best coach in the world. I'm not John Wooden. I just kind of like how I live my life. I have 3 kids. I work 3 jobs. I raise my kids tough. I build my program tough. I work my ass off to have what we have. My family does. I come from nothing, and that's what my program is. You're not going to outwork us, and we're going to lose some games. We lost 2 state championships that we should have won, could have won, and but I'm okay if my guys give me everything they have, and I could have done some things better, but as long as they're giving me everything, I'm going to give them everything. So that's kind of what we stand for.
Coach Jebby, I'll go to you, and I want to ask this question because, again, I know it may seem like I'm throwing you all the long duration questions, but I'm always interested in your knowledge because whenever we do talk, I'm always fascinated by what you say, and
he's the best looking one. That's why he gets all the good questions.
Well, he looks the youngest
Look at
one
that
here.
hair. Look at that good hair.
He
man.
looks the youngest one here, but yet he's been coaching for
gray.
15 plus years. I mean, he's making Hunter look like Hunter's 45 years old.
Oh man, sheesh, I'll take it.
With all due respect towards Hunter, of course.
Yeah, I get called the young guy.
No facial hair.
Take it.
No facial hair.
The babyface assassin. There you go. That's your nickname now. But Coach Jebby, you've been able to coach a variety of great talent. You've mentioned a plethora of them already, but as a coach, continuing to preach this hard work ethic and just continuing to preach just being able to be gritty and tough, like the words I use with Coach Olson. Do you think we're starting to lose that and we're starting to see that decline in players because with this new day and age of if they don't like the situation that they're in, they can just pack up and leave? And if that does happen, how do you go about adjusting to that? I'm just curious on your stance with having to adapt with just trying to keep your guys focused, but also coach them the way that you were brought up.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, playing hard and being a good teammate, those things have to happen. They have to happen. You're not going to make every shot you take. You got to be able to play defense. You have to play hard. There's no doubt about it. And the game has changed. It's a physical game. You have to be able to play through contact. Not everything's going to be called maybe when we played the game back in the day. And being at a bigger school, we have a luxury in the last few years. Our kids lift weights during the school day. We have 7 periods. There's a couple for football. There's a few for athletes, few for recreational kids, to where even during the season and all year long, our kids are lifting weights and gaining that strength and that physicality. But, you can emphasize that at practice and teach those things. But these coaches are going to agree with you. You just have a couple kids that are hard-nosed and are physical in nature. Nobody taught Dennis Rodman to go be a physical rebounder. That was him. But, you can't just always rely on offense. I just think in a day where kids are playing so much, they're athletic, maybe not as skilled as, back when we played, but I just think kids are more athletic. They're stronger. They're playing more. Yeah, but you've got to be able to play hard. You got to play good defense and be a good teammate. Be a good teammate. Are the key things, I think.
Coach Moles, you will have the final word, and I'm curious because I know that all 3 coaches on this panel are so high intensity. You guys over at Charleston Catholic are high intensity as well, both offensively and defensively. But from a coach's perspective, how do you go about balancing when to turn it up offensively and when to turn it up defensively?
I think it all starts on the defensive end. I think, good defense can lead to easy offense. So our most important drill is shell drill, 4v4 shell drill. We do it almost every day and start in the summer, trying to get the new guys to understand positioning and things of that nature and certain way to close out. And there's just a lot of details to the game that the average person watching basketball don't fully know maybe or understand. So success is in the details. It's all over the locker room. It's just we just buy into those little things, and it's the same old boring habits every day. That's what you got to do. And like these guys are saying, lifting weights, being a good teammate, playing hard you have to do that. And we're trying to keep taking that to the next level of off the court, trying to get guys to build relationships a little better. And talk a little more. And when I came from college, I came straight from college to coaching as an assistant in high school. And that's one of the biggest jumps is guys don't talk on the defensive end. And so getting a team to talk consistently on defense is huge. And just to answer your question, I think you got to turn it up on defense first, and then offense, you'll find a way to put the ball in the hole. Somebody will be on, somebody will be off. You're not going to make every shot, but if every single possession matters on defense, I think you'll you'll be successful.
Absolutely. Well, thank each of you for joining me on this for episode 145, I should say. I appreciate each of your all's insight with high school basketball. I thought we hit a lot of great ground, and I'm very appreciative of your knowledge of this. So thank you all for joining me. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Good luck. Good luck, coaches.
Yeah,
Yep,
great
you too.
talking to you guys.
Absolutely. That will conclude episode 145 of Hoops Across the Mountain State, our boys high school basketball roundtable with Hunter Moles, Michael Jebbia, and Ronnie Olson as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7 for all the latest about this podcast and much more going on across the Mountain State. And subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. I will see you all next week. This has been Hoops Across the Mountain State.